Welcome back. Told you I had to fix Casey the excavator here in the last video. Well, it's crunch time. I got 1 week and I gotta have Casey on a job site. Guy that I work with wants me to tear down a house, mulch it all up, throw it into a dumpster and a few other things around the property that he just bought. So here it is, pretty much a week from the time that I gotta move it, and I gotta fix a crack in the boom. So I've been putting it off for a long time because I've been working on that stinking house down there. So I finally said, gotta do it, gotta go. Dropped off the pins and the bushings out of the thumb to the machine shop. They've had them for a week and I can't get anybody to talk to me about whether or not, they ordered the bushings up or not. Finally got some plates out of them the other day and fixing to try to weld those in now. I'm using a rod that I've never used before. It's a 110-18 rod. A friend of mine who used to work in the mines recommended it. It's also one that was kind of developed for the military. So it's a 110-18 rod. It's supposed to be a real high tensile strength, but it's also a, what did I say, something about some hydrogen, nitrogen, I don't know. I'm not a welder. I weld things, but it's been years since I had to stick weld anything. So this has been kind of a learning curve, relearning curve for me. I'm used to an old 6011 or 6010. Good old farmer's dirt rod. These things are supposed to be pretty good about blowing through dirt and rust and actually still getting a good penetration. They're excellent as far as tensile strength. That's why they recommend them for welding booms and dozer blades and things like that. So I got most of the lines taken apart, taken off. I've got the edge of the boom ground down, and I ran a couple little practice sections in there just to try to get the feel back for it. So I'll take you up top and show you what I'm up against. So just for character's sake, that's an 8-foot step ladder. So as much as I don't really like being up on ladders and heights, this is getting up there. And on top of it all, we're welding on a flat side face. So the crack all the way, it comes all the way down to here. And as you can see from the picture here, it's like 14.5 inches between the span here. And then it varies up to 13.5 inches here on this boom. So this isn't really like a mini X boom. It's like I said before, it's a mid-sized boom. So my crack's coming all the way down to here. Put a couple of test runs in here just to see what the penetration was, and called up a friend of mine who is a professional welder, and he gave me kind of the recipe as to what to hit on this. This steel is like 5/16. Best that I can measure. The top plates and the bottom plates are actually a little bit different thickness. I want to say this one's like 1/4 and this one is a full, maybe 3/8. I don't remember at this point. I have to get the mic out and check it again. So, but on top of just welding this crack up, I got to put some plates in here, and up on top, because this crack runs all the way over to here as well. So what we're going to do, I've already got it cut out and plated. I'm dishing around these guys here, running up into this section here. So I'm going to have, I hate to do it, but I'm going to have a lateral seam running here. I'm stepping out around these two mounts. So we'll be buzzing all that in real good in both places. And then we're also coming up and tying back into these mounts here as well. So this entire section through here is going to be plated in 1/4 inch. So plating this in 1/4 inch. Then we're coming back here on the sides, and I'm basically doing like a diamond football pattern over this section here. But what that's going to do is tie this foot and this foot together with this entire section being plated in here. So as I can see here, this little guy right here has now opened up. I did a quick little penetration hit right here, but I wasn't real happy with the penetration. So that's when I called up Jason and I said, listen, what am I doing wrong here? Let's get this done right. So at this point, I think we're ready to cut a V-notch in this thing and actually start buzzing it up for real. And then, like I said, grind it off, put the plates in. right, day 2. Got into this thing last night. Made, I don't know, shoot, half a dozen passes or better on it. And like I said, it's been years since I've actually had to stick weld. So what I actually figured out due to my failures last night was I was running my stick the wrong direction. When you're running vertical, you don't want your stick coming up to it. You want your stick coming above it, coming down onto your actual bead. But in all the beads that I ran last night, trying to stitch this thing back together and also trying to build up what metal I was losing, the crack kept coming back through. Now these 110/18s are supposed to be jam up rods for this stuff, but I'll swing you in here and show you. I just ran this one a second ago just as an experiment. I mean, I took a grinder and cut back into my crack here. I don't know if you can see it, but the bottom of this crack here, and that's from me back dragging to try to start. But this crack is continuing to stay in here. No matter how many welds, how many passes I make, the crack is continuing to stay. This time, I think I finally got it. So I'm gonna have to continue this bead out a little bit below here and then run it on up, because I can actually still see a faint little bit of the crack right up in here too. Now top, I got it last night, just burned a little bit in here to sort of stabilize this thing before I started playing with this. And the top, it seems to be fine. I see a big chunk of slag right here, which I'm gonna have to burn into that in a few minutes, see if I can burn that out. But yeah, I am no vertical welder. So we'll grind all this down, and then you see this over here, I've got plates that we're gonna put on here as well. Okay, after chasing this thing for a little while and building up a couple more beads on here, I'm looking a little bit more happy with it. Got a few craters here and there, but overall grinding it back down, and I'm not finding any actual evidence of the crack that I was chasing through here last night and this morning. So I feel pretty confident that we've actually got good penetration. We've got a good solid hit in here now. So now we're gonna start working on with the diamond in here. So at this point, throw the diamond up there and start running some beads on it. Well, we got one side done. Not quite the prettiest welds I've ever done, but hey, like I said, it's been a long time. But anyhow, here we go. Get you in here closer. Would have liked to, when I originally gave the machine shop the measurements, it said like 18 to 20 inches, and it gave me like 17 and a half from here to here. I would have liked to have seen like a full 20, so I could have come all the way back to somewhere in here. And I would have liked to have seen not quite a severe angle here, but I'm kind of in a rush because, like I said, I got a job for this thing in a week. Got to get it over to the job site in a week, and that includes getting the thumb put on too. So we're kind of up against a wall. Biggest thing is I would have liked to have been able to travel back up into about right here with the reinforcement section on the lower, and maybe down to about in here someplace instead of giving it this section through here. Either way, we've got the reinforcement tied in here and a reinforcement tied in up here. So between these two reinforced sections, we're completely tied in here. Also, when I got to cutting into the wall was thicker than I thought. I mean, it measures like a 5/16, and then down here is probably a full quarter and like 5/16 on top. These walls are somewhere close to a full 5/16, if not a little bit more. So when I was chasing that crack, I found that it was actually thicker than I really anticipated. And this patch panel is a full 1/4 inch. So we should have it pretty well buttoned up on this side. I'll hop over and do the other side, and then we'll come up on top up here and focus in on that patch too. Here. So I've been avoiding it, but these guys actually got to come out. You would think that you could just pull the cylinder, which is presently underneath the camera, but the cylinder actually has a support gusset in there as well, so that's out of the question too. So nobody ever said working on heavy equipment was clean. So yeah, right now the thing is bleeding hydraulic fluid everywhere. That's why I've got the boom curled up underneath. I didn't want the boom stretched out or at a 90-degree angle or anything where a cylinder might have a little bit of pressure on it, because I kind of knew I was going to have to pull these guys out. So the plate that we're going to be sliding in here looks like this. And it's going to basically tie these two blocks up here. Now these are hold down blocks for the lines, and then it goes in between these, but that'll allow me to stitch these tougher, heavier pieces of metal together, as well as these gussets through here once this is in place. But like I said, I put a little bit of a bend to it, just cut a little piece here. I'll have to stitch weld that up as well too when it's all said and done. Meantime, getting these lines out of here is going to be kind of fun. I've already got them taken loose. If you happen to be working on one of these machines, they're 1 1/16" is what they actually are. There goes uno. Come on, you big beluga. Twist these things. There's the right one. Alright, let the fun begin. Sorry I can't set the camera right here in front when I'm grinding. I've only got one camera and I don't really have a lens protector, so don't really need to blow up a good Hero 10, GoPro 10 on this. Okay, got it ground down through here. Might have to take a wire wheel and cut out these little sections down in for the actual bite around these blocks in here. Here's the actual crack itself. Maybe you can see this with the glare on the back of the camera. I can't really see real well through the camera. The crack runs through here. It's been cut out. I've ground it out with a grinding wheel and then popped a hole in the very end of the crack down here. Over here is decent penetration. I am seeing a little bit of slag line through here, so or corrosion or something. And so I'll probably try to burn the rod a little bit deeper when I get into there. Well, welded up finally. I mean, yeah, there's some gouges and whatnot in there, and I could probably spend the next 6 hours picking out these little holes and all, but frankly, I've been on top of this ladder for about 4 hours now, 8 feet off the ground, you know, standing on 1 foot, grinding, burning, grinding, burning, grinding, burning. So I'm pretty confident with it. Some of my welds typically look a little ugly on the surface, but typically when I grind into them, they're solid. So all right, Tractor Supply and their Magic Tractor and Implement Paint has got Case Power Orange. Not sure how much more power it adds, but it's close to the right color for this. So all right, top plate's in, side plates are in. I'm gonna slap some paint on this puppy and call it even. I mean, it's 6 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon. I really kind of need to be at home, you know, playing roughhousing with my 2 kids on the couch or something. So but instead I'm out here putting this rascal back together. So yeah, like I said, I've burned almost 5 pounds of these 110/18 rods on this puppy here and on the sides. Impressions on the 110/18, I don't know, it behaves a lot like a 70/18. I'm not a real big fan of 70/18s, mostly because they stick and they're kind of finicky. What I figured out with my old Hobart over here, especially up on this top plate, if I turn it up to the 140 max mark, I really think I'm losing a lot of amperage through my cables, because these things are beyond gone. But I turned it up to that, and I was really laying some really nice, really nice beads. And then what you see here is a bunch of garbage which is on top of a good bead, because this is 1/4 inch plate. But what I was doing is that I've got a section like in between, and I'm filling in the gaps through here. So I was really using it for like a filler in a lot of cases. So some of this really nasty looking stuff on top here is really just me burning rods after rods after rods trying to fill the holes in. So, alrighty, slap some paint on this thing, get the lines hooked back up. So, been almost a week dinking around with this thing. So, finally got it mocked up last night. I should have already had it on, but I'm getting real tired of paying people to screw stuff up for me. I dropped all this stuff off at a machine shop almost 2 weeks ago. I went in last Monday, a week ago, and said, you know, have you ordered the bushings yet? Because I had to put new bushings in here to match my pins. My pins are, I think, 55 millimeter, can't remember. And the pin that was originally in this thumb was like a 60 something millimeter. Well, okay, fine. Just get a set of replacement bushings, ordered up, 70 to 50, knock them in, and here we go. All right, so the original pin for the thumb looked like this. All right, so I take the pin in, just have them mill a little bit off from the diameter. The foot looks like this and has a pin that goes in it. See, that passes through. Talk to the machine shop and said, oh yeah, we can turn your pin down and we can make you another pins for the upper section to go in both on the foot and down here. I said, well, I don't have a hydraulic cylinder, and a hydraulic cylinder is about 1,200 bucks. I said, so get me some like tube steel or something to go on these pins so I can put a stiff arm in there. So I get up there. They've made a beautiful pin. Pin's nice. Pin don't go. Pin don't go. I even left them with my original pin and said, this is the right diameter, but I need the other one to match in diameter. Don't worry about length, diameter, because I need a longer length. I get up there, they've taken my original pin, they've cut my retaining flange off, and they've cut me another pin that looks just like this, same length, out of my original pin. Then they gave me 2 little pieces of Schedule 40 pipe to weld tube steel to make a stiff arm. I wasn't happy. So this morning I go back up there and they've recut me a new pin. And I said, look, I'll call it even with a new pin. You cut me a new pin. You know what all this cost me? They actually made some bushings for in here because they screwed up and didn't get them ordered. These were going to cost about 80 bucks a piece to order them. It ended up costing me 200 and something bucks for them to make these things. What you're looking at here is $602 and some odd cents. It's outrageous. I wish my Bridgeport and my lathe setup, I would have milled my own pin down. I would have milled the other pin too. And there ain't no way I would have given myself this. Up against the wall, you end up paying for it. So, here we go. Got to make the stiff arm. Probably going to take it to a buddy's shop tomorrow and end up using his MIG welder, because the stick welder is going to be a little bit tricky to try to do this with. Also, sure, we'll just slide one inside the other. Don't fit, guys. Don't fit. That's what happens when you're in a hurry. Tube steel, there's also a seam that runs down the middle of these things. So again, if the Bridgeport was up and running, I'd just set it here and just rip a trench through the middle of this and they'd slide in. But now I got to sit here and do it with a doggone cutoff wheel. Fun times. Anyways, Got it mocked up last night with 2 old pins. Ended up taking a sledgehammer to beat these blooming bushings back in because even they were a little bit too big. I had to take a paddle disc, a flapper wheel, and polish the outsides of these bushings before I could ever get them to even start to try to drive in there. So they were a couple thousandths off, and they had my old bushings too. Don't know what they did with them, but they had my old bushings to make the new ones off of. The old ones came out a heck of a lot easier than these went in, and this is a new thumb. This thing had never been on a machine before, so the bushings should have been nice. Should have been easy. Oh well. You want it done right, do it yourself. Why am I putting it up here? Because this thing's actually for the next size up machine. Honestly, this should be down here. And if I did put it down here, it means I'd have to saw off a section of my actual bucket on the other side. There's a retainment flange over there that I'd have to cut that off. I'm not really wanting to cut that off at the moment, so the easiest thing for me to do was cut like about, not even a quarter, not even 1/8 of an inch off of a ring that was on the dog bone here on the other side. So, supported with just a ratchet strap last night. I was able to pick up a 2x6, pick it up, grab it, and move it over, and set it back down, and pick it back up again and move it back over. So as far as thumb goes, I'm happy as long as we don't cave this stiff arm in up here. And I really need to be able to figure out a way to take the stiff arm and pull a pin out, fold the sucker up against, and then secure it to the actual dipper stick. So if I'm actually hardcore digging, I'm not sitting here striking my doggone thumb all the time. All right, so yes, I'm wearing a trash bag poncho. It is not fit for man nor beast out here today, and I am out here welding in the rain. So got turned the pin down yesterday. I'm trying to backtrack and figure out where I'm at here. The secondary pin that the machine shop made for me, it ended up being 11 thousandths oversized. Took it down to a friend of mine's shop. We turned it down in his lathe for a little bit. Don't mind my booger welds. It's raining, nasty. I want to go home, and fixing to test this puppy out. So I ended up with a stiff arm through here. Ended up being about 40 inches from top to bottom. This is about as close as I could get the actual foot according to the spec sheets for the 803 or 7 something 803 Gale, which is where this edge attachment came off of. So stiff arm. This is quarter wall tubing in here with some smaller tubing. This is 1.5 inches, I think, and this is like 1 inch. It slid up inside, but I did have to cut a groove to get it to actually slide up in where the old seam is. So she's welded in place. Played with the bucket for a while until I got a spot where I felt like it was probably going to be about right, be able to pinch. My test has been this 2x6 on the ground over here. So let's fire it up. She's warming up. Let's see what we can do. Well, I'm used to a power thumb. This is going to be awkward. $20? No, too much. He not keep up, Mr. George.